Hi, I'm Alex. I'm 16 and I live in Negrești.
I'm Christina. I am 19 years old and I study in Negrești.
My name is Dan, I'm 18 years old and I live in Negrești.
Hi, I'm Elena, I'm 16 and I'm from Buturești, a small village near Negrești.
Hi, my name is Elena. I'm 16 years old and I'm from Negrești.
Hello, my name is Ovidiu Budaca. I'm a native teacher at Nicolae Iorga High School in Negrești, Romania. I think of myself that I'm a reliable person, very communicative person, and I love working with young people. That's why I chose this job. I do it because I really like it, and I think this is my meaning in life. Let's say so.
Being young in Romania could be tough because if you manage to finish the school, you'll probably end up working somewhere unrelated to your profession. That's why I think the best option is to leave the country. Also, due to the lack of conditions, it's hard to learn something around here, so the best opportunity remains private schools, which offer you a chance to learn something. Last but not least, I'd prefer any other evolved European country to study in rather than Romania.
About being Romanian younger, I disagree with the form of saying young in Romania because I don't understand well this separation between Romanians youth and any other's youth. I think that to be a Romanian younger must be similar with to be a French, British or American younger. But there are, of course, some differences as regarding the financial possibilities and generally the life's conditions. For me, living in Romania is not like a punishment, it's just like having a normal life. To my mind, living in the countryside, it's a problem for a young man or woman in Romania. Nobody says it's impossible, but it's very hard to travel to a bigger city where we can find, for example, some better conditions. I'm fine with the idea of living in Romania, but I think there are many things which should be changed for our country's development. As a conclusion, I would say that the hardest part in living in Romania is finding a good job after graduating.
I can't compare it to living in other countries, but living in Romania is pretty great. First of all, we have nice schools, cool teachers who actually care about helping us improving our knowledge, and we have great computer laboratories with high internet speeds. After you finish high school and college, it's pretty easy to find a 9-to-5 job in Romania, but the downside to that is that it's not paid really good. So the answer to that would be to create your own business or leave the country and go to a better place. For those who live in the countryside, it's not too easy to come to school because of the transport issues. And I consider this to be a major problem in being a young man in Romania. Last but not least, I think there are good parts, but also bad parts in being a young man in Romania.
As a Romanian woman, I feel somehow pessimistic about the idea of a successful life. However, I think that's the exact attitude that makes us fail, so I try to be as positive as I can. Despite my optimistic attitude, though, I find it hard for a Romanian young woman to build herself the path to wellness. Being the actual situation in Romania, the future does not seem very bright for me or for any other woman. The life in Romania is not very hard, but it does not offer as many possibilities as I would want to.
The life in Romania is very insecure for a young person because after graduating it is very hard to find a good job. On the other side, there is the possibility to find a job, but it won't be paid as well as it should be. Therefore, we have to travel abroad and look for a better job. To my mind, it's not an impossible life, obviously, but there are many things which should be changed, especially in our government.
Thank you.
How it feels to be a young man in Romania. I'm proud of my country. That's why I chose not to leave it for another one, for another European or whatever. Sometimes I feel awkward about, our society, those changes that have happened to us. But in other words, I could say our society develops really fast, and probably it will be a good country to live in my opinion. So, how it feels to be a young man in Romania? In my opinion, young people nowadays are very shallow and superficial. You people, us, we spend lots of our time on the internet and on virtual spaces, let's say, like that. We prefer to watch movies on the computer, on our TVs or whatever, instead of reading or doing something more, let's say, constructive, more relevant. But also, you could say that Romania offers lots of opportunities and lots of stuff to do. You know, we have a beautiful country, and it's a pity that us, or you, young people in Romania, aren't quite interested in discovering it. For instance, myself, I could be taken as an example of a young guy that comes from the countryside. I was raised by my grandparents, and I had a really, let's say, traditional education back then. But the school really got me where you need to be, let's say like that. So I wouldn't think that there are limits between those that are born in the countryside and those that live in great cities of our country. I think that there is this great difference between young people in the big cities. But if you're smart enough and interested of your own personality, you could be a great person. Being a teenager for me was one of the greatest periods of my life. I studied at the high school in Vaslui. I had 33 girls in my class. We were only 2 guys. It was heaven for us. Really, really. We had great teachers. We had 2 world teachers. One of them was even the teacher of my parents. And he kept on saying to me, you could do better, but you are worse than your father or your mom. And he was my colleague in the first year of my career as a teacher. And it felt quite, let's say, enjoying for me. Also, I think he was proud of me, my teacher. There are many differences between my life as a teenager and your life as a teenager. Back then, we used to read a lot. We used to have really strong friendships. We used to defend ourselves. We used to develop each one by getting in relationships inside of the group. I don't know if I make myself clear. I don't know if I can express it good. But back then it was very important for us to be a group. Not to be the same, but to get together and know each other and learn from the other one and to develop, you know. I told you I had in my class in high school, I had another guy. He was a great reader. Can you imagine he read in 2 weeks, I think, War and Peace twice? Can you imagine that? It's Tolstoy. Yeah. I think it's like 1800 pages, something like that. It's a great book. He read it twice in 2 or 3 weeks. It was an example for me. So I think it's a great difference between this time as a teenager, you know, and back then. But you also have very large amounts of infos on the internet, or wherever you are. So it's also difficult for you to know what you want to be. It's also difficult for you to understand what people want from you, to understand what even your parents want from you. You know, life is it's a long chain of choices, somebody said. I think you're about to discover in yourself that in the future you can obtain, you can gain only regrets, or you can have good choices. So Romania, for me, my country, which I am proud of, it's a great country. Even though the others don't consider it like that, I think we should respect it and love it and embrace it as a way of being. Because in the European situation, it's also important to know your identity, to know your values, your principles, your religion, your very own, you know? And young people, you, teenagers, you have this duty for your country and for you also. I tell my students, I hope I'm not that old not to know them enough. It's also sad for us, young teachers, let's say still young teachers, to discover this great difference between our time as teenagers and this period. There are very important differences, I told you so. You have big advantages, but you also are, let's say, forced to have some choices that we didn't have to take. So, above all this, I think if a person is educated to do good, he or she will do good. The good always gets about.
Thanks.
Hi, you are a young man from America. You've been living here for about 2 years. How does growing up in America compare to growing up in Romania?
Okay, well, there's very little difference in respect to growing up as a young person between the ages of 8 and 17, 18 years old. Like here, I grew up in a small community, and on my street I had 10, 12 kids my own age, and we used to go outside and play games and sports every day. And it's pretty much the same here, as I observed. Although I believe things change significantly as you get into high school and into college, because the communities in America are not as close as they are here, so people are generally restricted by their age groups. And so what I observe here is, especially in a small town such as Negrești, people of an older age, in their 20s, are often around younger people around the age of 15, 14 even, constantly. It's not really like that in America. You're often segregated, so to speak, by age. But growing up myself, I grew up before laptops were everywhere, even before cell phones were everywhere. And so we still had a very close community. I knew everybody on my street by their first name. I had been to everyone's house. I had eaten in everyone's house. So we had a very small community, and but that began to disappear rapidly with the introduction of things like cell phones and laptops and instant messaging and so on and so forth. And so that was a major issue. As a young man, typically you get your, depends what state you're from, but typically you get your license at the age of 16. This is because America is very, very spread out. It was built for the automobile, so cars are ubiquitous there, and not so here. So typically, people in America, as a young person, you get out of your town much more often. The rest of the towns and the areas around you are much more accessible than just your own town, so this is a major difference. But definitely, I feel like if I had grown up here in Romania, I'd have definitely had more of a sense of community, and that's something I definitely always felt missing to a degree in my own childhood. I'm not a college student in Romania, so I don't really know what it's like to finish here and look for a job, but from what I've seen, it seems rather difficult. Often there's this phenomenon in Romania called brain drain, where a lot of the well-to-do academics, people who got really good grades, who succeeded well in college, leave the country to seek money, to seek jobs and positions elsewhere, because Romania has a limited amount of opportunities that it can offer to its citizenry. In America, it's not really like that. Even though we've had a slowdown in our economy, the U.S. economy is still very, very strong in comparison to most countries. Getting a job is not as difficult as it's often portrayed in the media. Although getting the job that you want is possibly more difficult now. I didn't really have a problem with this because I joined the Peace Corps to go abroad immediately after college, and I found some work to hold me over in the meantime, which wasn't very difficult at all. So I think there's definitely this disconnection between what we want for our lives and what we can manage to put together. In other words, we have these dreams about I'm going to have this job and go to work and have these certain hours and I'll be at this certain pay grade, and oftentimes it's unrealistic, especially if you don't succeed in what you want to do or succeed the way you want to at college in America. So, and as far as Romanian students graduating, I know a number of students who have graduated or who are currently enrolled in college. I'm told that it's often very difficult to get a job here, but that could be just what they're saying, so I don't have much of an opinion on that. Okay. There are certainly differences between growing up in America and here. I notice here, really growing up all depends on where you live. If you live in Negrești, a small town, life is fairly accessible. I mean, you have routes to all the major cities, decent train travel, and so most things are readily available right in town, or if not, in the local city. So it's not too bad. But if you live out in the countryside somewhere, off the main road, off the principal road between major cities, life is much more difficult. You're likely to have less money, less access to transportation, and different opportunities like that. So I think that Romania, growing up in Romania, you're severely limited by where you live. I think it's less so in America, especially because of the availability and widespread transportation that we have. Although, like I said, Romania still possesses a wonderful element of community that my country really lacks, really needs to get back, and a kind of understanding in your community amongst one another that definitely gives you a feeling of being home, a feeling of being grounded or connected to the people around you that we don't have. And that's probably my favorite thing about living here, is that I walk outside or I go to the store and I see, and I'm new here, and I go to the store and I see all these people I know. Where I live, I don't live in a very big town at all. I go to the supermarket, I almost never see people that I know. Well, if I do see someone that I know their face. Maybe I saw them in high school. They're the brother or sister of someone that I used to know. But our community is nothing compared to what you all have here.
Thank you.
We live
in Romania. We are young. We have problems, but
we can
change
that
together.